President Trump says he ordered a lethal strike on a third drug-carrying boat yesterday, killing at least 3 narco-terrorists as Operation Pacific Viper ramps up. So far, thousands of pounds of illicit drugs have been seized. Roughly 60 suspected narco-terrorists were apprehended, and more than a dozen narco-terrorists have been killed while trying to transport drugs to America. Joey Jones is at the touchscreen to break down the logistics of this new war on terror. Joey, take it away.
Yeah, look, I mean, we saw the videos just now in the intro of bad guys dying. I like that any day of the week. I just want to show you here. So the first one here was on September 2nd. That's the one that kind of made big news. And it happened right here between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. And so that's a pretty small area there. So what that tells you is our capabilities, they're honed in. They're pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and clear that and move it on, talk about what we saw there. There we go. So basically, the drug vessel, as you heard Secretary of War Pete Hegseth say, 11 terrorists are sitting at the bottom of the ocean now. He was completely unapologetic about defending our country in this new theater of war. So what you had there was you had 11 suspects that had a really bad day. And that's what you're going to get when you try to smuggle drugs into our country. All right, so we're going to move on. And this is the next one. This is on September 15th. This is the next one that we have confirmed. This is actually a picture of the boat. And this is the one that that had terrorists in it as well, but this one was looking to go from Venezuela up to the United States. We don't know if they were going to Western Caribbean or Eastern Caribbean or exactly what the route was. Of course, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State's not going to tell us where our assets are exactly or what we're interdicting exactly, because the element of surprise goes a long way. And in this one, actually, this is the one where you had 3 narco-terrorists on a drug vessel, and we haven't confirmed the report, but believed to have had cocaine, fentanyl, and other terrible drugs coming up from Central and South America. So now let's talk about what we do have going on there. This is the part where I get to nerd out a little bit. So what we have here is we have what's called in the Navy, it's called a Surface Action Group. And so the capabilities of all of these assets are just shy of what we call a carrier strike group. So the air assets here are vertical takeoffs. You're talking all types of helicopters and the Marine Corps version of the F-35, which works like a Harrier. But more importantly, we have ships here with what my friend would call vertical tubes of mass destruction. We have what are called a Mark 41 system that has the SM series rocket or missiles in them. So the Navy ships here are protecting the Marine ships, and the Marine ships are what's really cool. So the Navy ships here are defensive. They can take out other ships, submarines if they came. They can also attack a country. And so the reason why I want to point this out, let me get on over here to the next one. So of the destroyers there, USS Lake Erie, Gravely, Sampson, and Jason Dunham, these are the ships that can protect the amphibious assault ships. So the reason why I'm pointing that out, if I can go one more here, is there we go. So what we have going on right now in Central and going into South America is we have all these U.S. ships around. I'm actually going to bring it back to that other screen because I think that's a better representation. So we have all these U.S. assets here, but America needs to know what these assets are actually doing. So I want to talk about it a little bit. Might not have much to put on the screen, but talk about, we have a Marine Expeditionary Unit. This is part of an amphibious ready group. So we have ships here that are carrying Marines and Marine gear. Their sole job, first to fight, will be anywhere within 72 hours. That's the Marine Corps promise to the president. So we have them ready to make a beach landing, say on Venezuela. So what is Maduro thinking right now? We've got the capability to both protect ourselves with the Navy ships, to do a sea-to-land assault with missiles. We also have the capability to put bodies on shore, to put 5,000 Marines going into Venezuela if it came to that, or any country here that would do us harm and attack our people or our ships offshore. Along with that, we have air assets. We have some of the biggest aircraft, helicopter aircraft in the world that can carry troops ashore. We have the CH-35, the Ospreys, the UH-60s, the F-35s with vertical takeoff. What we have here, most importantly, unlike what we had in the Middle East, and what happened is we basically ignored this whole area of operations, theater of war. And it is a theater of war because we have terrorists operating here and Chinese and every other bad actor coming into this part of the world. We've ignored it because we fought this war in the Middle East for 20, 25 years. So what we have now is we're losing what's called the tyranny of distance. Everything we have here can be rearmed and resupplied in a matter of hours. We're not far away from home. As scary as that may feel, it also is some reassurance that any operation that goes on here chances are somebody from across the pond's not getting involved, even our enemies. So what Maduro needs to know is he's alone and by himself. What anyone in this region who's looking to operate against us needs to know is they're alone and by themselves and facing the full might of the greatest military in the world. I'm not jazzed about war. I'm not saying let's go do it. I'm saying that we finally have a Secretary of War and a president and an administration that understands the first line of defense is our back door. What I'm telling you is, with the Navy, the Marines, and now the Coast Guard, we have Coast Guardsmen, the MSRT units that are trained like Navy SEALs that can go in and interdict like you saw in that video in the intro. We're being protected. And these fentanyl deaths, and these narco-terrorists, and human smuggling, and these things that you're seeing at the border go down, here might be where it starts, and it also might be where it ends. Tommy?
Joey, I love it. You're the best over by that screen. All right, I want to ask you something, Kevin, because I personally think all this stuff is great. I think if you want to address the root causes, as Vice President Kamala Harris famously was tasked with doing, I think the root causes are exactly what Joey showed us on that board there. Hey, might as well do it there. But there are some of our libertarian friends that are very concerned about this, and I've been hearing it all week from the libertarians. They're very concerned that something goes wrong, you hit a fishing boat with people who might not speak English, you have, a miscommunication, even though our military's best, most wonderful, things happen. Do you see any of those concerns that folks may have? Do they concern you at all?
They do, in the sense that this is all politics. Never underestimate how political this can possibly be. People are talking about the security aspect of this, the military aspect of this, the diplomatic. But don't forget, there's also domestic and international politics at play here. If, for example, a fishing boat with civilians were struck, then yeah, that could create a problem. But I think if you're really honest about it, and for the first time in my life, I feel like there's more pushback on the official narrative when people try to trot out these grand lies. Oh, they were humble fishermen. Oh yeah, they were out at 3 o'clock in the morning in a speedboat. Give me a break. And so thankfully, from that perspective,
not much different from the farmers in Afghanistan that were digging holes in the road in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, give me a break on that. And finally, in our lifetime, we have pushback against these faulty narratives. And I